Saunders trainer confident of perfect game plan to derail Canelo. Mark Tibbs, head trainer for WBO super middleweight champion Billy Joe Saunders, feels confident that his boxer can pull off a major upset when he faces WBA champion Saul Canelo Alvarez. The two boxers are scheduled to collide on May 8, with the location to be determined. Tibbs recently returned to the corner of Saunders, who parted ways with Ben Davison last year. "As soon as I got back involved with Billy Joe Saunders for the Martin Murray fight, I recognized immediately the maturity in his body and in his strength, and also in his thinking," Tibbs told the Bedford Boxing Show. "He's always been strong-minded, and he's always been a phenomenal trainer, but he needs to be reminded he's a slick, free-thinking fighter, and we couldn't take that away from him in any way. He knows he's got the intelligence and know-how, stylistically, to take on someone like Canelo Alvarez." Saunders, a very elusive southpaw, when he's on his game, is vowing to enter this contest at 100%. There are several strategies that Saunders and Tibbs are reviewing for use in the contest. "We can box around, we can defuse, and take away power and exploit areas. There's another way of fighting. Billy Joe can, and perhaps he will do, defuse the missiles and exploit the openings, and set traps ourselves, make him fall short, encourage him to swing," Tibbs said. "It's all about boxing, outfoxing, chipping, and clipping. It's about pulling off a perfect game plan, and I believe Billy Joe Saunders will do that on May 8. Canelo was in action this past Saturday night in Miami, Florida. He battered WBC mandatory challenger Yildirim for a 3-round stoppage in a very one-sided fight. Devin Haney, "I don't need to fight Teofimo Lopez to become a star." Devin Haney has decided that he does not need Teofimo Lopez Jr. as a dance partner to delineate himself as a big-name boxer. Lopez said, "I have to fight Rolando Romero to get him when I don't need Teofimo to become a star. Teofimo is not someone that I need. I still make more money than fighting Teofimo Lopez. For him to say that I have to go through Rolly to get to you is ridiculous. I don't really need you, Teofimo," Haney told Behind the Gloves. "My main focus is to keep winning and collect all of the belts in my division. Fame will come, the money will come in good time. I want belts more than anything." Haney is the WBC lightweight champion, while Lopez is the WBO, WBA, IBF and WBC franchise champion with a stronger resume at lightweight after beating Vasily Lomachenko last year. If Haney wants the belts that he desires, the only way to get them for now is to fight Lopez. Lopez, however, will be fighting his IBF mandatory challenger George Kambosos Jr. on Triller pay-per-view, while Haney is likely headed toward a WBC mandatory defense of his title against Javier Fortuna or a fight with Jorge Linares. They're not the fights that Haney's longing for, but it will have to do for the time being because he believes Lopez, Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia are all avoiding him. I don't feel like there should be any trouble making these fights, because if the fighters want these, Reynoso willing to help McGregor better his boxing ability. Defense, Eddie Reynoso, the head trainer for Mexican superstar Saul Canelo Alvarez, would love to polish up the boxing skills of former UFC champion Conor McGregor. McGregor made his pro boxing debut in August of 2017 when he was stopped in 10 rounds by a comebacking Floyd Mayweather. After that loss, he returned to the UFC. For several years, McGregor has discussed the idea of returning to boxing. Back in January, McGregor was knocked out in his rematch with Dustin Poirier. The unexpected loss put the brakes on a proposed boxing match with Manny Pacquiao, which was being negotiated to take place this year. After his most recent loss, McGregor admitted that he was far too focused on boxing instead of mixed martial arts. The veteran coach was actually impressed with McGregor's boxing ability in the fight with Mayweather. Reynoso would like to see McGregor do a trilogy fight with Poirier, and he's interested in helping him prepare. "I think they should do a trilogy fight. It's 1-1, so the third fight should be good. Here we can support him. We can help to better his boxing and defense," Reynoso told Little Giant Boxing. "Honestly, when he fought Mayweather he surprised me. He has a good counter. He has good footwork, waist movement, and agility. Therefore, I think he would do good in boxing. Give it your best, keep working hard, don't quit. You have a lot to give, and get the third fight with Dustin Poirier. There's bad nights sometimes. Conor has a lot to give. I don't know what happened, but his career is untouchable. He's a tremendous athlete that's going to be in the history books. Anytime, this is your home, Conor, whenever you want to come practice and learn. We welcome you with open arms." The big question, will Tyson Fury vs Anthony Joshua actually be next for the heavyweight champs? It's been talked to death, but is the undisputed heavyweight championship fight actually coming next? Last week's big question asked how long you thought Avni Yildirim would last against Canelo Alvarez. Seemed kind of insulting on paper, I suppose, but then it was kind of an insulting fight to ask people to pay to see. Guess what? It turned out pretty weak too. The damned haters and critics were just right this time, sadly enough. Hey, man, I'd have also preferred Yildirim gone out and fought his heart out, even if overmatched. Would have been more fun. Would have been a better story. Anyway, the voters were basically right. The slight majority, 43%, said Canelo would finish him inside of 4 rounds, and he did it in 3. The rounds 5 to 8 pick was just behind, 42%. 5% said Yildirim would get stopped between the 9th and 12th rounds, 3% said he'd go the distance, and 6% had themselves a good little laugh and predicted he'd win. This week we'll switch our focus back over to the heavyweights, and specifically the much discussed Tyson Fury vs Anthony Joshua fight. It seems like Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn has been saying we hope to announce it in 2 weeks for a few months now, because basically that's the case. Top Rank's Bob Arum and Queensberry's Frank Warren, along with Hearn, have all expressed their confidence the deal will get done. That's rare, but the fight hasn't been announced yet. The target was June, perhaps, and we're into March now. You'd want a heavy promotional cycle for this fight, obviously. That doesn't mean it couldn't be announced any day now. Actually, part of the reason I'm posting this is I hope the fight gets announced, and the whole question here is old hat quickly. But there are other notes of concern. For one thing, Arum is now pissed at Hearn for bidding on the Teofimo Lopez-George Kambosos Jr. fight. Neither of them won. Triller did, and for what it's worth, Hearn doesn't seem to care about Arum being mad. In fact, he used it to kinda poke the bear even more. Hearn has always, and probably rightly, had the sense that Arum may rant and rave and call you every name in the book, but if a deal is there to be done that makes everyone money, it can get done. More concerning, perhaps, is Fury himself saying that the sides are no further forward today than we were a year ago. The Gypsy King just doesn't sound all that confident, but then Tyson Fury says a lot of things. If you ask him questions, you guys have seen a lot of boxing news cycles come and go just like I have. Are you still confident Fury Joshua is coming next for both of them? Yildirim manager, Canelo better than Mike Tyson. He beats everyone at 168. Ahmet Warner manager of super middleweight contender Avni Yildirim was shocked with his boxer's performance last Saturday night in Miami, Florida. Yildirim was dominated and stopped in 3 rounds by Mexican superstar Saul Canelo Alvarez, who retained the WBC, WBA world titles before a lively crowd at the Hard Rock Stadium. Yildirim barely threw any punches in the contest and took punishment round after round. His trainer, Joel Diaz, stopped fight before the start of the 4th stanza. The fight is over, and we have to deal with everything. People are upset, I get it. But these kind of outcomes have happened in the past. Michael Spinks lost to Mike Tyson in 1 round, Max Schmeling lost to Joe Louis in 1 round. Canelo is very good, he is a superstar. I had the honor of being with Canelo and his team, great professionals who are made for much more, Warner told George Ebro. I don't think anyone can beat him in the division. If he was bigger, he could even beat Anthony Joshua. He is a monster. He hit Avni in the 3rd round, and I saw that he wasn't reacting to his coach's questions. We made the decision to remove him. He is 29 years old. Canelo is in a different league. Warner denies the claims that his boxer froze before the bright lights. Avni fought on a big stage against Chris Eubank and lost, but not like against Canelo. He fought Anthony Derail on PBC before 10,000 people. That night he fought as if he wanted to win, and his girdle was stolen. He lost the chance due to human error. I think that the cause of what happened must be sought in those 2 years away, as well as his 2 injuries and his doubts, Warner said. He said he needed a tune-up fight, preparation. And there was no tune-up, you are the mandatory challenger. COVID-19 stopped everything. After surgery the doctor told him that he could train on November 1st. He was perfect, lifting weights. There are no excuses. Canelo's problems with Golden Boy passed, and the Callum Smith fight happened, but the World Council kept Avni number 1 because of what happened to Derail. In my opinion, the WBC did everything very fair and gave us this great opportunity. People forget very quickly, everyone has their problems in life. Perhaps it is out of ignorance. When Avni fought Derail, he was robbed of his title. We protested, the council accepted the protest. Then David Benavides defeated Derail. Then there were date problems, and then COVID-19 arrived. Canelo is very strong. There is only one Canelo. Put in Jermall Charlo, Derail, Billy Joe Saunders. All of them will be defeated by Canelo. He's better than Mike Tyson, more solid. He will never lose to minor boxers. As far as Yildirim, Warner is going to explore the possibility of having his man compete at the middleweight limit of 160 pounds. He has to ask himself if he can overcome his doubts and stop what happened last time. If he wants to continue, he will have my support. I still think he can be world champion, but not against Canelo. Maybe he can move to 160 pounds. He lost to the best. I told him not to get depressed, to believe in himself. There is no penalty in losing to the best, Warner said.